I am Simon from Cyrene. I am the one the Romans seized, upon whose shoulders the Romans placed Jesus' heavy cross. I then was forced to follow Jesus, carrying his cross to Golgotha. In English, the place of the skull. There he was crucified. I had to carry his cross. I wasn't given a choice. Those Romans can do with us as they please because we are not citizens of their empire. I'm not even from this area. I'm from Cyrene, a city off the coast of Libya. I came here to Jerusalem to observe the Passover with my two sons, Alexander and Rufus. We were just coming in from the country when we noticed this parade along the Way of Sorrows. I was just an innocent bystander, but I sure must have looked fit, for those Romans made me bear the cross for this Jesus from Nazareth. The cross. The cross was an instrument of execution throughout the Mediterranean world. The Assyrians, the Egyptians, Greeks, even the Phoenicians of Carthage used it. Sometimes it was merely a stake, no crossbar at all. Sometimes it was a crosspiece that was placed on top of a stake that remained permanently in place. At other times, it was like the one I carried, a cross of two unequal pieces. It was on the top piece where his name and title were nailed, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. The cross was difficult to embed into hard, rocky ground, and it was equally difficult to dislodge. It was always placed outside the city walls, always near a highway, because those Romans want to be efficient and they want to get to the execution site quickly and get their job done. It was also done in a place of high traffic zones so that as many people as possible could get the message, don't do what that person on the cross did. Don't mess with the Romans. And to add insult to injury, the one to be crucified often was paraded, carrying one's own heavy cross to the place of execution. What humiliation. An unruly crowd gathered. They taunted the three criminals condemned to carry their own crosses to the execution site. We stopped to see what all this commotion was about. I gasped when I saw the one called Jesus of Nazareth. His body had been beaten, torn by whips, swollen. No one could possibly identify him, recognize who he was. He wore a crown of thorny branches, thorns long like those of the barrel cactus. It was pressed down on his forehead. The blood still dripped. How could those Romans expect him to carry such a heavy, awkward piece of lumber in that condition? Well, maybe I shouldn't have been thinking those thoughts, because let me tell you, those Romans are efficient. They don't have time to be held up by someone too weak to go on, so I was conscripted into service. Luckily, my sons were old enough to take care of themselves when we were separated. Rome doesn't care how families get divided. Now, I'm used to hard work. I didn't fear the weight of that heavy load, but I didn't want to witness the horrible, merciless death. I carried that cross thinking, hasn't this Jesus already suffered enough for whatever he did? Soon he would be carried by that cross from life to a slow death. The hammer would pound nails through his wrists, through his ankles. He would be lifted up on an upright stake. All that horror that was to happen locked firmly into my mind. and I felt a surging pity for him. Yet, as I struggled with the beam, he seemed to take pity on me. I don't know how to describe the look he gave me as I took his cross. I sensed thankfulness, a simple yet profound gratitude for my assistance. It was as if he was saying to me that bearing his cross is a necessity, that it was done not alone for him, and that he would repay me with something so rich that it's incomprehensible under these conditions. He gave me a sense of hope. He was soon to die. He was facing the bleakest possible demise. He had nothing but anguish ahead, yet his countenance gave a strength veiled by his swollen body. How odd to be conscripted against one's own will and humiliated before the crowd, and yet feel hope and dignity carrying that cross. My boys were reunited with me after I completed my assigned task. From a distance, we watched, transfixed by all these mixed feelings. We learned Jesus was no thief, no robber, no murderer, no insurrectionist as the other two were. And we heard how another was released so that this Jesus, the one who was innocent of any crime, could be crucified in that guilty one's place. Where is the justice in this violence against the sanctity of innocent life? Darkness came as if night from noon to 3. It was as if the angel of death was coming again. But this time, the firstborn son's life to be taken would be God's one and only Son. The blood of the Lamb saved our forebears in Egypt. The blood of this Lamb would save all our descendants who trusted in him, splashed as it was on the post of the cross. How heavy that cross was. How agonizing to hear him mocked, see his agony, watch him die with spears thrust through his side. It's been a few days since now, and people have seen him alive. He wasn't defeated. He is victorious. His blazing eyes gave me hope when everything else uttered defeat. The Romans hadn't forcibly seized me into service. His love seized my heart to receive a light that sees his grand purposes. His cross paid the price to redeem me from my sins and bought me citizenship into God's eternal kingdom with all of his protections and privileges. His resurrection seals honor for bearing his cross. To take his cross and to follow after him is to find life everlasting for all eternity in God's goodness. Under all crosses, Jesus bears hope and strength. Do you grow weary because of whatever circumstance you find yourself? Look to Jesus. See hope. Take courage in his compassion. Do you feel life is uncertain? The cross seems so dark, and cross-bearing feels unbearable. Yet beyond the cross is a light no one can describe. It's a resurrection worth bearing any cross. So I'll cling to that old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Thank you for hearing me. God bless you.